In the news tonight, an update and explanation regarding the Solidarity Allowance. A big welcome as Chad Blackman makes his first appearance at Parliament as an MP. A husband and wife team on remand in connection with the Daring Daylight RBC robbery. And in sports, Coach Sammy wants improvement with the Windies away record.
Broadcasting from our studios in the Pine St. Michael, this is CBC NewsNight, starting now.
Very good evening to you. I'm Lisa Broom. Thank you so much for tuning in. In our top story tonight, following significant criticism in some quarters about the process to collect the $300 Solidarity Allowance, government today issued an update and explanation during a news conference at Parliament. Minister in the Ministry of Finance Ryan Strachan indicated that thus far, 149,823 people have received the $300 one-off allowance. Minister Strachan says a total of $44,616,900 has been paid out. He said that authorities regret the long lines at post offices as people seek to register for the allowance, but he says there are people who are required to register for the authorities to get up-to-date information, particularly regarding their addresses.
I think we've had just about 17,000 people or so who have visited either the National Insurance or the various post offices. A significant proportion of that, almost 15,000 of those persons, were persons who simply had to update their address and information, and the reality is that there's really no easy way for us to verify that Ryan Strachan is Ryan Strachan other than showing up to say, I am Ryan Strachan with my information to say this is my new address in order to be paid. So we do accept that it has been a little inconvenient for a number of persons having to stand in line in order to get that process completed, but we believe that we've been able to see a significant part of that process complete.
Minister Strachan says authorities made the appeal for people to register as early as possible to allow for the National Insurance Scheme to get on with the business of either processing the payment, making deposits to bank accounts, or working with the Barbados Postal Service to have checks mailed to recipients.
Even though we have allocated initially $55 million to the National Insurance to get us to conclusion, having paid 44, it means that there is just under 11 million more of the original monies to be paid. And I say to Bajans, come forward, let us distribute that money, and if more needs to be topped up from the government to the NAS, we will do so. But we have really until June 30th for persons to come in, register. Now, with the National Insurance, there's a certain registration process for their systems to work. If you have the Trident ID card, it makes it a whole lot easier for us.
According to Minister Strachan, based on the 2024 census, approximately 50,000 Barbadians are left to register for the one-off Solidarity Allowance. Well, the minister in the Ministry of Finance also reacted to the firestorm by motorists who question why local fuel prices have been raised despite a decrease in prices on global oil markets. He says the increase in gasoline prices by 6 cents to $3.95 per litre and diesel by 7 cents to $3.40 is reflective of turbulence within the international trade markets over the past few months.
And therefore, the extent to which our acquisition of these fuel oils and where they come from will be impacted in part by some of that. And so I know that we continue to monitor how much taxes we take from the excise structure as it relates to oil. We have been focused on how do we get the best value and cleaner fuels into the country, and therefore there will continue to be volatility as it relates to international oil prices as well as fuel prices.
Minister Strachan is also making it clear that government has an aggressive policy to encourage Barbadians to move away from diesel and gasoline to hybrids as well as electric vehicles.
We we've seen a lot of people who have made that personal decision to transition. And therefore, I think as we have put other measures in place to ease the cost of living, and for every bit of revenue that we forego in relation to supporting those relief efforts, it means that there are things that have to be adjusted in the rest of the budget. So the government is very clear that we will continue to focus on how do we mitigate the volatility that will genuinely cause cost of living to rise, and we're committed to continuing those efforts.
Member of Parliament for St. James North, Chad Blackman, arrived at Parliament for his first appearance in the House of Assembly to a big, warm welcome. Clad in red and black African attire, Minister Blackman arrived in the courtyard around 8:50 to a rousing round of applause from members of the Barbados Labour Party's St. James North constituency branch, students, his parents and other members of Parliament. Anesta Henry was there to witness the action.
After exiting his vehicle, Member of Parliament for St. James North, Chad Blackman, known as the big man with a big vision and big passion, was all smiles as he shook the hands of his supporters gathered in Parliament's courtyard. He greeted the students who waved red and yellow flags and gently embraced his parents Delvin and Jacqueline Blackman before having a brief conversation with Deputy Head Girl at St. Albans School, Rakayla Haynes, as she pinned a corsage on his attire. Minister Blackman, who almost 1 week ago won 84% of the votes in the St. James North by-election, says he is humbled by the welcome to mark his first appearance in the House of Assembly.
Of course, the process to get here was very rigorous, just concluded by election, but it's really a humbling feeling to be here. This, of course, now begins the formal side of the representation, particularly in the context of Parliament. But I look forward to serving the people of St. James North, and let me once again use the occasion to thank the constituents and residents of St. James North. They have reposed a significant level of confidence in me, and I don't take it for granted. With such an overwhelming mandate, equally, it therefore means that, as I always said, to whom much is given, much is expected. And already last week, I would have started a constituency clinic so as to meet the people and to hear their concerns, what they want done, and to really roll out a lot of the initiatives and plans that I would have outlined during the campaign.
Minister Blackman was appointed to the Senate on January 8, 2024. A few weeks before the May 21st by-election in St. James North, he resigned from his post as Senator and Minister of Educational Transformation to allow him to contest the seat through a rigorous campaign. And just before walking to the lower chamber, Minister Blackman admitted he will miss the upper house.
What it did was to allow for me over the last year to understand the rudiments and the cut and thrust of debates and politics, but now, of course, is really to represent the people who have elected me in Parliament. Yes, of course, I have a ministerial portfolio, but for me to represent people is really an honor, of which I don't take very lightly.
He says his contributions to debates in Parliament will ensure that issues his constituents are experiencing at the ground level will also connect with where the country is going at the global level.
As I said in the campaign, I see myself as a natural bridge between our international space and where we're going as a country, and ensuring that at the local level our people can understand how it will benefit them and what we are doing in Parliament on their behalf, but equally helping them to understand where the world is going and how they can reposition themselves at the household level, the community level, because the global reality requires all of us as citizens to be prepared for the ever-changing world.
Minister Blackman walked the steps leading to the lower house in the company of Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Transport and Works and Leader of Government Business in the House of Assembly, Santia Bradshaw, who served as his campaign manager, and also Minister of Home Affairs and Information, Wilfred Abrams. Anesta Henry, CBC News.
Prime Minister Mia Amor-Motley was the first to welcome Minister of Educational Transformation Chad Blackman to today's sitting of the lower house. Ms. Motley notes that Minister Blackman secured 84% of the vote in the recently concluded St. James North by-election.
Even though there are concerns about the extent of the turnout, we have shown clearly that of the 8,534 members, roughly 2,068 persons were either overseas, deceased, or had moved. And to that extent, reflects admirably. When we have looked at the performance across the board in that constituency and others, the votes garnered even with a lesser turnout approximate to that which is garnered with a normal turnout.
Minister Motley tells Minister Blackman that he comes to the Honourable Chamber with humility, grounded in seeing, hearing and feeling people, which she hopes he never loses. And she's looking forward to him eclipsing the efforts of all those who have served before him in his role and transform the education sector.
I look forward to the contributions in terms of his participation in debates and the moving of resolutions, but equally to the overall contribution that the honourable member will make to the children of this country, to the future of education, and by extension, knowing how much education means to us as a nation. Because without that, our people will not be able to achieve the most that they can achieve. That we look forward to his leading the most comprehensive educational transformation that this country.
Opposition leader Ralph Thorne also welcomed the Minister of Educational Transformation, and he says he hopes Minister Blackman will speak for those with inadequate voice.
There is no greater honor than to be called upon to represent other persons and to be their voice. That is what you are. And it is said elsewhere, somewhere I read, that unless the voice of suffering is heard, the truth is never entirely told. And I want to feel that the new representative will abide by that principle.
Barbadians must plan for events that may arise. That's according to Minister in the Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs, Ryan Strawn, as he led off debate on the Insurance Amendment Bill 2025. He says whether it be life, house or motor insurance, insurance is a matter that ought to be taken seriously given the events of the last 7 years. Minister Strawn says the amendments to the bill reflect the international changes in the insurance industry.
I want to say to Barbadians, sir, that risk-taking is what we do every day. And therefore, the extent to which one can mitigate against risk, sir, is important to understand and appreciate that as much mitigation as one can put in place, sir, you cannot totally eliminate risk.
Minister Strawn has pledged to continue to bring solutions to Barbadians despite having more work to do. He says the Barbados Labour Party has been the insurance policy for the people of Barbados over the last 7 years.
Life is a relay, sir, is a relay. And if you pass the baton in a worse shape, sir, than you receive it, then it means that you're not focused, sir, not focused on delivering for the people of this country. And I hope, sir, that as we move forward, that Barbadians understand that this is not just a philosophical or political discussion. This is the lived reality of Barbadians.
The bill was later passed. Barbados and its regional neighbours will benefit significantly from the Caribbean Regional Logistics Hub and Centre of Excellence strategically placed at the Grantley Adams International Airport. That's according to Minister of Home Affairs and Information, Wilfred Abrams, who says Barbados is pleased to be home to the new hub, which is a game changer in the region's emergency response mechanism.
As the Minister for Home Affairs, I approach the hurricane season with some degree of trepidation because we can't control what happens. I hope that nothing happens for Barbados, but in the event that it does, we have within our own country the ability to store large amounts of relief supplies. I'm not just talking foodstuffs, I'm talking generators, I'm talking big bulky items that we actually have nowhere else to store them. And it doesn't just affect us because of our geographical location, and that's why we were chosen. because of our geographical location, anything affecting the rest of the Caribbean has to pass Barbados first. So a hurricane is going to come our direction and then drift westerly. So relief supplies can follow the event.
Minister Abrams says he is relieved the hub is in Barbados.
I think it is a massive undertaking. I want to thank all those who are involved. I want to thank the World Food Program, the government of Canada, the government of the US, SEDEMA, the UN, the Church of Jesus Christ of the Latter-day Saints. I want to thank all who were involved for what it took to see this from conception to completion. The structure is up, the building is secure, it is ready, right? We now just have to fill it. But once filled and it serves its purpose, Barbados can only benefit, as can the rest of the Caribbean.
Coming up on Newsnight, a husband and wife duo remanded on a string of charges, including robbery and handling stolen property. A daring daylight robbery on Mother's Day has seen the accused gain a place at the Barbados Prison Service Dodds for the next 3 months. Albert Nathaniel White, 44 years, and his wife Sophie White, 33 years, both of First Avenue, Weeks Land, Goodland St. Michael, have been jointly charged with laundering $59,160.30 on May 11th and $150 between May 11th and 17th. Albert has been separately charged with robbing John Merritt of $989,741.60 belonging to Tanis Investment, endangering the lives of Merritt and Raish Oliver, use of a firearm, driving an unregistered motor vehicle, use of fraudulent number plates, no insurance, and laundering of $900 all on May 11th, laundering $720 between May 11th and 12th, and laundering $280.89 on May 12th. Meanwhile, Sophie has been charged by herself with handling stolen property in the sum of $60,410.69, laundering $680 on May 11th, laundering $200 on May 12th, and laundering $520.39 between May 11th and 14th. Now, both appeared before Magistrate Manila Renee in the District A Magistrates Court, where they were not required to plead to the offences and have been remanded to reappear in court on August 19th. The Barbados Police Service is seeking the assistance of the public in locating Chad Blackman of no fixed place of abode. He's wanted for questioning in connection with a serious criminal matter. Blackman is advised that he can present himself to the Criminal Investigations Department at Black Rock, accompanied by an attorney at law of his choice. Anyone who may know the whereabouts of Chad Blackman is asked to contact the Criminal Investigations Department at the Black Rock Police Station at telephone numbers of 417-7500 or 417-7508, Police Emergency at 211, Crime Stoppers at 1-800-8477, or the nearest police station. Now, members of the public are also reminded that it is a serious offence to harbour or assist wanted persons, and anyone caught committing this offence can be prosecuted. Community legends from the parish of St. John have been honoured in a special way. As part of the parish's month of Regathering 2025 activities, an honour wall was established at the Gull Hill bearing the names of 23 pillars of St. John. Father of Independence, the Right Excellent Errol Walton Barrow, and former Prime Minister, the Honourable David Thompson, are among the names written on that wall. It was unveiled during a special ceremony, as Anesta Henry tells us.
It is hoped that the honor wall at Gull Hill St. John will serve as a form of inspiration for the youth of that parish. Member of Parliament and Minister of Youth, Sports and Community Empowerment Charles Griffith says it is important for young people to look at the wall and ask about the lives of the people whose names are written on it.
Why? Because I dare say that none of the individuals whose name you will see this evening set out in life for their name to be on a wall in St. John. It was about service. It was about doing the skills that they would have acquired from the father and just amplifying it to a stage where it impacted the lives of so many people in this country, and in particular in St. John.
Minister Griffith says the wall is his signature action in the constituency. He has served as Member of Parliament for the past 7 years.
Roads will continue to be sorted, the infrastructure will continue to develop, and St. John will continue to rise. But this, for me, is important. And I want for all of us to treat this and to look out for what is happening on this wall.
And Minister in the Office of the Prime Minister with responsibility for culture, Senator Dr. Chantal Moreau-Knight, also agrees that the names of the men and women on the wall represents people who are overcomers and achievers.
But it also as well says to our young people that you don't have to be born in a particular setting to be able to achieve. That you can walk bare feet. That you can come from homes that don't have much, and that you can aspire to achieve and to be recognized.
The pillars of St. John, whose names are written on the wall, includes nation builders, education pioneers, healthcare practitioners, sportsmen and women, and Justice Barbara Cook-Allen from the judiciary. Several of these individuals have died. Onesta Henry, CBC News.
Sports Night, brought to you with the compliments of Great Health Works, agents for Omega XL.
Sports time now. Let's head over to the sports studio where Damien Best is standing by with the latest. Good evening, Damien.
Yes, good evening to you, Lisa. Good evening to our viewers and listeners. West Indies head coach Darren Sammy says the upcoming one-day international series against England is a critical one. The regional side is seeking to gain points for automatic qualification to the 2027 ICC Men's Cricket World Cup. Going into England later this week, Coach Sammy says the Windies have to improve on their away record in order to achieve consistency.
You know, every international team poses different type of challenges. For us is to continue to believe, continue to work, and we are putting in the work. And yeah, we hold the trophy from winning the series at home, and yeah, we're trying to better our away record, you know, and we have a team capable of doing that.
Well, the Windies will take on England in the first of 3 ODIs on Thursday at Edgbaston. Poor weather disrupted the team's preparations today, and it threatens to also affect that series opener. Well, Barbados have taken an unassailable 2-0 lead in their blind cricket T20 best of 3 series against Guyana. They won the first game won at Weymouth by 4 wickets, restricting the visitors to 171 for 2 and replying with 172 for 6 in 19.3 overs. Then they took game 2 last night at Rice's in St. Philip by 8 wickets. Deciding to field first, Barbados Blind Cricket Association restricted Guyana Blind Cricket Association to 162 for 6. Anthony Robinson top scored with 44 not out, while Daniel Gibson took 2 for 18 and Mark Goddard 2 for 32. Barbados Blind cricketers replied with 163 for 2 from 13.5 overs to win by 8 wickets. Player of the match, Jared Harrison, batted through the innings to make an unbeaten 80 that included 8 fours. St. Michael's School defended home turf as they got the better of Dighton Griffith School in the latest matchup of the National Sports Council Secondary School Girls Volleyball competition. Playing at their school auditorium, SMS won 2 sets to 0 as they lead Zone 1 with a perfect 3-0 record. St. Michael's School Cougars to the right of screen at their home base, taking on Dighton Griffith School. Ace to the visitors. Both teams kept the scorers table busy. Rhea Archer credited with that point. Sienna Hall on the edge, proving effective as well off the fingertips and outside. Dighton Griffith bounced back from being down 10-4 at one stage to garner some fortuitous points. The hosts having to scramble. There was no question about the service game, however. Amaya Graham marked it down as an ace. Dighton actually managed to push SMS before the latter closed out the first set at 25-17. This prolonged rally capped off with a thunderbolt via Hall. Second set action now, swapping sides. Dighton hoping they can build some momentum. Rhea Archer admitting the mistake at the net. The very next play, Kibare was very alert and just dumped this one into space. She's going to talk about that for the rest of the week. However, despite a great start to the set, Dighton Griffith faded away as SMS upped their game. In fact, any opportunity they got to serve was bearing fruit. No fireworks in the second. St. Michael's School wrapping up the straight sets win. 25-17, 25-8 over Dighton Griffith School.
St. Cyprian boys remain unbeaten in this year's Baiko Primary School's football competition after recently securing a third consecutive victory when they thrashed Charles F. Broome. Meantime, Wilkie Cumberbatch and George Lamming played to an entertaining 2-2 draw. CBC's Amar Goodish Boyce reports from Benin.
Wilkie Cumberbatch in blue and orange were up against George Lamming in our first match. 8 minutes of play, George Lamming with a corner swung into the box, and Raquel May Alan Braffett is on target. George Lamming 1, Wilkie Cumberbatch 0. Just before the break, George Lamming doubled their lead, and it was Alan Braffett again, back of the bins. Wilkie Cumberbatch with some work to do, 2-0 at half-time. Second half action, Wilkie looking to get back into the contest, and they turn to Mackay Brown, and it's a beauty of a strike. The deficit halved at 2-1. The next goal crucial in terms of which way the game will go. 4 minutes left. Who's going to be the hero? Rakim Mears accepts the challenge and slots it home. Nothing to separate the teams. It ended Wilkie Cumberbatch 2, George Lamming 2. Second match, a battle between Charles F. Broome in red and St. Cyprian's boys. Here, St. Cyprian's with a free kick, and it sneaks under the bar. The boys in green 1, Charles F. Broome 0. A few minutes later, Charles F. leveled the score. Ball played forward, bit of a scramble, and Jace McLean is in the right place and taps it home, 1-1. But before they knew it, St. Cyprian's had their noses in front again. Great skill down the wing, and the cross is met by Tashin Welch. A very good finish, 2-1 the score. Make that 3-1. This free kick was delivered into the danger zone, and Charles F. Broome couldn't handle it. Last touch off the defender. Second half now, and it was more of the same. Boyce collects his second of the game, 4-1. No way back for Charles F. Broome. For good measure, St. Cyprian's added one more. Sean Aaron Goodenedger writes his name on the score sheet to complete the win. Final score, St. Cyprian's 5, Charles F. Broome 1. And more Goodrich Boys, CBC Sports.
Poor plumbing in Barbados is a concern to a young entrepreneur. Lead plumber at ZJS Plumbing Service, Sean Freeman, says he's willing to work with any of the more established companies in order to correct the problem before it gets worse. The young plumber sat down with Trevor Thorpe for tonight's Youth Entrepreneurship Schemes Business Report.
The young plumber tells the Yes Business Report the issues are vast. He says with careful attention, the condition could be corrected over time. Mr. Freeman also drew attention to some of the issues he has been exposed to in the field.
Some people just don't have like proper running water, the waste going out into the yard and stuff. So just looking to get those people, those customers, and help deal with the health, that type of thing, really plumbing.
The young plumber admitted he could not address the problem alone and is willing to partner with any of the big companies to help address the problem.
It's so true. Jada is one of the companies that I would like to work along. Carl Williams. Also, nothing coming to mind at the moment, but other plumbing companies as well.
A product of the Youth Entrepreneurship Scheme, he says ZJS Plumbing Service got its name from the initials of his 3 daughters, and he tells the Yes Business Report he owes his place in the Barbados market from the training he received from Yes.
The Youth Entrepreneurship Scheme was a great addition to helping me actually build my business, actually put my business out there, and get connected with the resources to help improve my business, like the trust fund and such.
The young entrepreneur says he has a roadmap in place and is eyeing the marketplace events organized by Yes.
I have given it a thought, and it is in motion to start being able to introduce people to the plumbing that they have around their homes and certain aspects of plumbing that they need to have done. That is an idea. I would like to be at one of the pop-ups, just showing my work, how tools is work and such in plumbing.
The plumber says he wants to continue to develop strategies from all he has learned from the market.
To build the business up to the standard, whereas Barbados and people in Barbados will mostly call me, especially when it comes to plumbing and health and water resources as well.
Mr. Freeman says ZJS Plumbing is a dusk to dawn operation.
I work 7 days, and I also offer a 24-hour service. So if you have any emergencies, like late at night, pipe bursts, you can call me, and I will be there for sure.
The young businessman says he maintains contact with the friends he made as a student of the Youth Entrepreneurship Scheme, and they complement each other's business. Trevor Thorpe for the Yes Business Report.
The Barbados dollar funds managed by Fortress Fund managers all experienced healthy returns for the first quarter of this year. That news was shared with investors in the quarterly report of the Fortress Growth Fund. The Fortress Caribbean Growth Fund, that is, the Fortress Caribbean High Interest Fund and the Fortress Caribbean Pension Fund. Chief Executive Officer of Fortress Fund Managers, Peter Arender, gives an assessment of the performance of the funds.
We posted positive returns. Our high-quality, well-valued stocks from all around the world did quite well. The Caribbean Growth Fund was up 3.5% in the first quarter, and our Caribbean High Interest Fund was up 1.5% in the first quarter. Most of the returns on the equity side were from investments outside, definitely outside the Caribbean, where things were pretty much unchanged. But even outside the U.S., international, and especially in emerging markets like China, things did quite well.
Sports Night, brought to you with the compliments of Great Health Works, agents for Omega XL.
Time for the second half in sports, so it's back over to Damien.
Thanks so much, Lisa. Well, the St. Michael's School and Queen's College had winning starts to the Desani Powerade Barbados Secondary Schools Under-15 Netball League. Queen's College defeated Graydon Sealy 23-7, while the St. Michael's School got the better of Darrell Jordan 24-6. CBC's Anne Margaret Boyce reports.
Darrell Jordan in the red bibs with the center pass, traveling from St. Lucie to the St. Michael's School to take on the hosts in this matchup. First half action, and this is Carifta Games silver medalist Shania Motley showing her multi-sport ability. Rearing the goal attack bib. That's the first conversion of the game. Motley came prepared to put her height and jumping ability to good use. Here she is again, producing another goal for SMS. St. Michael were really on top of proceedings here. Darrell Jordan's defense left exposed, and Motley is there to crack the code. She scored 11 goals from 25 attempts. The goals were far and few between for Darrell Jordan, and when they did come, they were celebrated. Shannara Duglin giving the girls from the north something to smile about. SMS then took the third quarter 19-4, so let's head to the fourth and final one. Tarisha Masco with the goal shoot bib arrives on the scene. That's easy. Masco scored 7 from 14 attempts and did her part in the demolition job. Here she's on target again, and yup, the smile is back, and for all good reasons. SMS defeating Darrell Jordan 24-6. Anmar Goodrich Boyce, CBC Sports.
Well, that's our news for tonight. On behalf of the entire team, thank you so much for tuning in. Good night.